What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden here. Hopefully, everyone is doing extremely well. Besides baseball, I would argue I am doing well. But yeah, what is going on, everyone? Hopefully, everyone is doing well on this fine afternoon. In today's stream, we are going to be going over the New York Mets versus Boston Red Sox. Summary, pretty much summarizing the good, the bad, and the ugly. As always, this year we are emphasizing on the bad and the ugly because that is how this Mets season has really gone down. Then, of course, we are going to go over your guys' comments, questions, and concerns, all that great stuff. And then, of course, we are going to go over the New York Mets and the New York Yankees Subway Series, as the Subway Series is back for the second time this year, but is in the Bronx. So we are going to go over that. Going to be super exciting. Hopefully, everyone is doing well. And yeah, otherwise, we got some great stuff to talk about in today's stream, like I said. But before we get into that, please, everyone, give this video a like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, tell your friends about this channel, and much more. We are almost at 800 subscribers. So if you guys could share this channel, could share this stream, could make an account for your dog, I don't know, frankly, but I would very much appreciate if we can get to 800 subscribers. By the trade deadline would be ideal, but like I said, we'll see how it goes. Like I said, just riding out this Mets season. But yeah, let's stop wasting any more time and let's go into this New York Mets and Boston Red Sox series summary, pretty much summarizing the good, the bad, and the ugly. So getting into game one, which was Friday's game. It was obviously finished on Saturday, but Friday's game was started, and we know that it did. It was in a rain out. Obviously, it started on Friday. Kodai Senga was on the mound. Obviously, the Mets did win this game. Sorry, I was distracted, but the Mets did win this game by a score of 5-4. The Mets win this game as stated. Was completed 18 hours after it started because of a horrible rain delay. The weather in Boston was insane. I know the 7 line was there and people were sending me pictures. It was pretty incredible. But yeah, Kodai Senga, obviously, only 3 1/3 innings. Like I said, really, you can't really take those stats too seriously. Like I said, would have went farther, but the rain delay and can't really pitch 18 hours later. So that kind of messed up his start, which is pretty unfortunate. But hey, it is what it is. But Senga, 3 1/3, 2 runs, a walk, 3 strikeouts. Looked good. First inning, kind of just, I guess, just got into a little bit of a complexity. But later in the second and third inning, really got into his groove. Like I said, goes forkball, fastball. Those are kind of the 2 pitches that you saw from him a little bit. The Green Monster was kind of a interesting thing for Senga to kind of deal with, especially facing righties lineup. But like I said, you really can't much go after Senga with this game. Um, you know, Stopped, then it resumed 18 hours later on Saturday, and that proposes a bigger concern: is your bullpen. You go in with the lead, can you trust your bullpen to go out there and give you 6-7 innings of a quality performance? We know this bullpen has been horrible for this team this year. So can this bullpen go out there and perform at a decent enough job? And well, they did. You had Grant Hartwig, who was by far the hero of this game, going 2 innings. So pretty much giving them what your typical starter would give. So Grant Hartwig gave them until the 5th inning. He went 2 innings, giving up only 1 hit and a strikeout, 25 pitches. So really quick innings there. You like to see that from Grant Hartwig. David Peterson came in and tried to the best of his ability to blow this game. 2/3 of an inning, giving up 2 hits, a run, a walk, a strikeout. Who knows what to make out of him at this rate? Dominic Leone came in for an inning, only giving up a hit, a strikeout. Brooks Raley came in only for an inning. He's been really good this year. Only a hit, 2 strikeouts. And David Robertson to close it out in the 9th looked great. An inning, a strikeout, 15 pitches. So he was really up to speed. So really what you like to see out of this bullpen. Tip of the cap to the bullpen. Because I remember waking up and turning on the game in the 4th inning or whatever, and I said, "There's no way that this bullpen is going to make it far." But they did. They proved everyone wrong, but unfortunately, they couldn't do the rest. In terms of the offense looked good. Like I said, average offense, 5 runs. That's an average. That's a suitable game for me, in my opinion. Like I said, in the third inning, getting started with the offense, Brandon Nimmo has a 2-run homer to right to bring in himself and Brett Beatty. It was a moonshot. Knew it was gone off the bat. In the fourth inning, Daniel Vogelbach with some power. He had a 2-run homer to right to bring in himself and Jeff McNeil. And then in the sixth inning, Brett Beatty has an RBI single to bring in Pete Alonso. So like I said, 5 runs, 13 hits. You did strand a lot of guys in scoring position. I will say that was definitely a concern. I mean, you had bases loaded, no outs. And I mean, this team has been a master of getting the bases loaded and not driving them in. I mean, that's what this team is known for. I mean, it's incredible. I've never seen a team get the bases loaded with no outs and not drive anyone in, whether it's a sac fly, RBI double play, fielder's choice, whatever. I mean, it's mind-boggling. This team gets bases loaded, and they find every way to avoid it, whether it's a double play back to the pitcher, whether it's a strikeout and then a 6-4-3 double play. I mean, it's insane. And that's something that, like I said, they won, but if they were to lose this game by a game or two, you would have definitely have looked back to that inning and said, well, that was your prime opportunity to score more runs and gain insurance. And that's what this team has failed to do a lot this season. So, it's definitely been very, very, very frustrating. Obviously game 1, Mets win 5-4. Grant Hartwig gets the W. Robertson gets the save. Getting into game 2, this was definitely an ugly game by far. Mets lose this game by a score of 6-8. This was a game that, in my opinion, was a winnable game and should have won, but, the Mets just don't like to win at all. Obviously, the Mets lose this game by a score of 8-6. And like I said, they battled, and this was a game they should have won, but unfortunately couldn't. Obviously, getting things started. Max Scherzer was on the bump, and another shitty start by Max Scherzer. I mean, by far, an inexcusable loss from Scherzer. 6 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 97 pitches. 63 of those were in the strike zone. Home run. I mean, Max Scherzer has been a home run merchant. I see someone just put in the comment section, 22 home runs and 18 starts for Scherzer this year. That has been Max Scherzer's. That has been the summary for Max Scherzer this year, is the long ball. He has been giving up way too many home runs and just way too many barrels and hard contact this year. He can't even keep the ball in the ballpark. Horrible start from Max Scherzer. I don't care about the 7 strikeouts, 6 hits, okay, 2 walks, okay, but the 5 runs, you can't do that. Pretty much, didn't have a clean inning at all. I mean, really, besides the 3rd inning, that was his only clean inning. Otherwise, like I said, home run. He gave up 4 home runs this game, and don't quote me on it, but I believe all 4 home runs were given up on the slider. His slider is done. His slider is washed. It's toast. I saw on Baseball Savant the location of his slider this year compared to last year, and the location drop on it is completely different. So, you could tell Max Scherzer just doesn't have a slider. And, kind of the moral of the story for Max Scherzer this year is he can't pitch in a big game. He can't pitch under pressure. You put him in a rubber match, he's going to blow it. Everyone says, oh, well, he pitched great against the Dodgers last weekend. Yeah, because the Mets already lost the series to the Dodgers. So they were just avoiding getting swept. So, fucking congratulations to Scherzer for preventing the Mets getting swept. But at the end of the day, what difference does it make? So, Scherzer, I hate to go after players and say they're washed and go after them, but that was a washed-like performance from Scherzer. And, it's interesting. Obviously, post-game press conference with Scherzer, typical stuff. Oh, it doesn't matter. I really stopped listening to them at this rate because at the end of the day, I think every Met fan knows what the issue is and how this team is constantly running through the same motions, and whether that's through the same motions of Max Scherzer and, the other pitchers. So yeah, inexcusable loss from the Mets, inexcusable start from Max Scherzer. No need for even the Mets to lose this game. This was a game that they should have won, but they didn't simply enough because of an inadequate shit wash performance from Max Scherzer. You could tell I'm livid, as I should be. Um, you know, really goes back to the last start um, that Max Scherzer pitched in New York against the Dodgers, and just the excuses of oh well, the reason I pitched well this time was because there was something he said, and someone else brought it up. The reason that Scherzer pitched well last week was because something with like the mound being all wet, so it was helping like his foot not get brought up fully. Some dumb excuse. And then you go into a start like this, you get rocked. Well, that comment makes you look like an idiot. So yeah, very just done with Max Scherzer. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and explain what's wrong with him. He's not what he used to be. It's that simple. Yeah, and completely put the Mets pretty much out of reach. And that's been the moral of the story for this Mets starting pitching this year is this Mets pitching loves to give up runs in the first inning, and they give up runs early on, and a good amount of runs where, it puts a burden and, on this offense to have to come back and try and save the game. It's very hard to do that. So, inexcusable performance from Max Scherzer. And then obviously the Mets go to their bullpen. Trevor Gott, fucking send this guy to the moon. He is fucking horrible. Trevor Gott came in when it's a 2-run difference, which I thought that was a little bit of a head scratcher. I'm not really sure what Buck Showalter believes in that situation. Obviously Trevor Gott comes in, gets one batter out, gives up 2 hits, 3 runs, a walk, and a strikeout. So congrats on striking out one. But then, yeah, pretty much put the Mets out of reach in this game. The Mets were in reach of this game. It was a 2-run ball game. And then you put in Trevor Gott. No, it doesn't work like that. I hate to say this, but in 2-run, high-leverage games, why are we putting in AA pitchers? In those instances, you have 3 guys you go to. You have Brooks Raley, I hate to say it, but Adam Ottavino, and then obviously in an 8th or 9th situation, you have David Robertson to face the meat of the order. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. Obviously, it was asked, and Buck Showalter said, oh, well, the analytics, the stats that he had against those guys. So yeah, pretty much put the Mets out of reach. Josh Walker came in for 2/3 of an inning, hit, strikeout, and then Drew Smith came in for an inning, giving up 1 hit. So yeah, Mets pitching 8 runs, 10 hits. I mean, yeah, they don't deserve to win this ball game at all. By far, Mets pretty much blew this game for themselves, thanks to Max Scherzer and Trevor Gott. And yeah, I mean, it's insane to think that the Mets are paying Chris Flexen go pitch for the Colorado Rockies so we can get Trevor Gott. So honestly, I would have rather Chris Flexen at this rate. In terms of the offense, they did score some runs, and they tried to battle back, but you can only do so much. In the 4th inning, Jeff McNeil had an RBI single to center, which obviously brought in Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso. Jeff McNeil went to run to second base on it. Alfaro threw the ball into the outfield where nobody was. It went all the way back to the wall, and Jeff McNeil came around and scored on that. So it's labeled as a 2-run RBI single, but it's technically a little league home run. So I think that was the first for McNeil. I mean, a guy who doesn't hit a lot of homers. So for, a guy who's having a down year, I guess cherish that, right? Heading on into the 9th inning, the Mets tried to battle back. In the 9th inning, Francisco Alvarez had an RBI single to left to bring in Pete Alonso. A couple of bats later, Mark Vientos had an RBI single to left to bring in Francisco Alvarez. And then in the 9th inning, Brett Beatty had an RBI single to right to bring in Mark Vientos. But Mets fell short. They got the tying run up to plate, but just couldn't get the job done at its entirety. So it is what it is. It happens. Mets lose this game. Washed up Scherzer gets the loss. And then you go to Sunday Night Baseball, Game 3 in the final game of this 3-game set. And the Mets lose this game by a score of 6-1. Carrasco obviously comes in and pretty much puts the Mets out of reach before they even get an opportunity to do anything. Carrasco, by far, a shitty start. 2 1/3, 10 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 58 pitches. I mean, by far, looked horrible. The cookie crumbled, as we can say. Nothing was there. Fastball, slider, changeup, pretty much everything in his arsenal was not there. It was hit after hit after hit. Yeah, you could argue, he got a little screwed up on a couple like bloopers and light contact hits, but hey, that's baseball. That's the point of the offense, is to get on base. It doesn't matter how, whether it's small ball approach or power approach. And that was the approach of the Red Sox. Obviously, that first inning, you could just tell. I mean, you had a couple good defensive plays where it saves Carrasco, but a lot of balls hit where they weren't, and that's baseball for you. But yeah, Carrasco, by far, another crappy start. Comes to the point, how many more opportunities are you going to give Carlos Carrasco? He's a great person. I respect him, but he's not an MLB pitcher. I'm sorry. There's nothing in him that shows eliteness, that shows dominance. So, yeah, I mean, we're really going to have to see how that goes down the line. I mean, if they're going to want to give those starts to David Peterson instead, at this rate, what difference does it make? At least Peterson can get you to the 5th inning. I mean, whether it's 6 runs or 5 runs, I'd rather that than, overburdening and taxing your bullpen. So we're just really going to have to wait on and see how that goes. Bullpen came in. Drew Smith came in for an inning and 2/3, struck out 3, so I guess he didn't completely blow it, so good for him. Trevor Gott came in for an inning, of course, pitched great. David Peterson came in for an inning, struck out 2. Dominic Leone, an inning, giving up a hit, a run, strikeout. And then Adam Ottavino came in for an inning, only giving up a hit and getting the rest of the 3 guys out. 6 runs, 15 hits. I mean, that's your starting pitching for the 2023 New York Mets. Game was over before it even started, essentially. So, yeah, that is that. In terms of the only offensive production, I'll save the chase for you. You scored 1 run in the 6th inning. Francisco Lindor had an RBI single to left to bring in Mendick. I mean, really no positives from this game. The only positive, I guess you could mention, was Mark Canha. 3 outfield assists. And I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time really any player did that, yet alone a New York Met. Canha was all over the place. So making some great plays, getting guys out. Almost had 4 outfield assists if it wasn't for Mendick learning how to tag a guy. But yeah, by far a very, very good game from Mark Canha. Definitely defensively showed off a lot. So I know he has been having a great year offensively, been very inconsistent. But tip of the cap to Mark Canha. Kind of really showing out what he has. So, yeah, respect on that. Obviously, Carrasco gets the loss. Big surprise. It's kind of been the moral of the story for Carlos Carrasco this season. And like I said, it comes to the point, how much longer are the New York Mets going to continue to run out Carlos Carrasco out there? Comes to the point, would you rather see a guy like David Peterson or Joey Lucchesi or Jose Butto make those starts? And I say, what difference does it make? Go for it. I'd rather have Peterson and Butto come up and give you 5 innings and give up 5 runs than Carrasco give up 5 runs and get taken out in the 3rd inning. At least you won't be killing, your whole entirety of your bullpen and overtaxing your bullpen. Because, I mean, there's a lot more to it. So, yeah, I mean, definitely by far a crappy start from Carrasco. I don't understand why the Mets brought him back. I don't know why Billy Epler gave him a qualifying offer. And listen, say what you want about Bassett and Walker. Okay. Obviously, I know those guys have talent, so I know they wouldn't accept the qualifying offer. But I would have much rather have kept Bassett and put him as the 5th starter than re-signed Carrasco. But honestly, the whole thing with Bassett and Walker, I mean, I don't think any Met fan wanted them back after last season, so I can't be saying it now, can I? But yeah, obviously, with that said, that was the ugly New York Mets and Boston Red Sox series summary, pretty much emphasizing on the bad and the ugly and the few good. Now, the Mets are going back to New York, but not to play at Citi Field, to be playing at Yankee Stadium. I will be there. Yeah, no, obviously, Mets are going back to play at Yankee Stadium, first time since last year. Mets, Yankees, back to playing each other for the first time since last month at the Subway Series at Citi Field. But yeah, obviously, coming into tonight, the New York Mets are playing Game 1 at 7:05 Yankee Stadium. Mets are coming into this 46-53, 23-31 on the road. Big series, obviously, for both of these teams. And you look at the Yankees, 53-47, 31-23 on the road. And, listen, you look at the Yankees, obviously they're coming off of a series sweep against the Royals, 3-2 in their last 5. Mets are coming off of a series loss against the Red Sox. They're 2-3 in their last 5. So just switch the numbers around. But both of these teams are really in a crappy spot. I mean, you look at this New York Mets and New York Yankees team, and you could argue the Yankees are in, say we want about the Yankees record, but you could argue it's pretty much the same record as the Mets, because you look at that division, the Yankees are, how many games back from the first place Baltimore Orioles and Tampa Bay Rays? The Yankees have been really having a rough go at it lately. 9 games back. Right now they wouldn't even be in the playoffs. I think they're 2.5 games back from the wild card spot, and that's been a juggernaut for both the AL and the NL. Not to go crazy talking about the Yankees, but they've really been having a rough year. The Yankees, by far. Whether it's just injuries, which has kind of been the keynote for them. Obviously, Aaron Judge has been out, and he's a big bat, big important guy in that lineup. To starting pitching. Their starting pitching has really been a letdown. Domingo Germán, Luis Severino, Nestor Cortez has been all over the place. Pitch clock is getting to him. Who knows? Really the only guy that's been good for this Yankees pitching staff is Garrett Cole, and it sucks that he's doing good in a year where he may not be able to play in the playoffs because they're not going to make it. And that would suck because, Cole's been a guy who's been very prone to just melting off in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes for them. Also, offensively, they've been struggling, hitting with runners in scoring position. You look at that lineup. A lot of AAA guys, a lot of low averages, low OBPs. They hit for power, obviously, Yankee Stadium, so it's nothing new. But, a lot of guys. Rizzo's been dead lately. LeMahieu hasn't been great. And then, you have guys like Billy McKinney. Jake Bowers. And then, obviously your younglings, Volpe, Cabrera, Oswaldo Cabrera, Anthony Volpe, who some could argue aren't quite ready. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. But both New York teams have not been having a rough or have not been having a fun year by far. So we'll see how that goes. But obviously tonight will be the start. Obviously, at least one New York team will be happy tonight and tomorrow and could potentially take 2 or split it. And with that said, tonight's start will be the first of 2 games, obviously, because it is the Subway Series. But the New York Mets will be throwing Justin Verlander on the bump for the New York Mets, and it's going to be a big start for JV. He's been pitching pretty good in July, pretty good in June and July. He's really been having his stuff together. Obviously, taking a look at his stats, they're much smaller, only 83 pitches thrown this season, but it's 4-5 in the season, 3.47 ERA, 1.16 WHIP. Verlander's been, like I said, really getting his stuff together, mixing up his pitch as well. The slider, the fastball's been nice. But the biggest thing is going to be keep the ball in the ballpark. We know Yankee Stadium. There's going to be lefties in that lineup. Guys that can go the opposite field. So you really want to keep that ball in the ballpark and keep the ball on the ground at minimum. But yeah, JV, like I said, he's coming off of a great start. That start against the White Sox, he was dominant. Keep the pitch count low. Like I said, keep the pitch count. Keep the pitch count low. You want to preserve your bullpen. You don't want them coming out in the 6th, 7th inning. But yeah, we'll see how Verlander can go tonight. And obviously for the Yankees, they will be throwing Domingo Germán, who doesn't really have much besides a perfect game this year. Like I said, 4.52 ERA, 1.08 WHIP. So I guess the walks are not bad, but not a great pitcher. The Mets beat him up last time, so we'll see what they could do against him in round 2. That'll be tonight's game. And then obviously tomorrow's game, to be the final game of the 4-game season series against the Yankees. Tomorrow will also be a 7:05 Eastern Standard start, and the Mets will have the lefty, the southpaw, in Jose Quintana on the bump for the New York Mets. Quintana only made one start of the season, which was his most recent appearance against the White Sox. Pitched pretty decent. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 runs. 5 innings, 6 hits, 3 strikeouts. Only giving up 2 runs. So not horrible. I think Quintana is going to be an interesting experiment. I don't know if he'll have a pitch count limitation. I don't know how many innings Buck Showalter is going to want him to go, how many pitches he's going to want him to throw. Like I said, it's a second start from injury, but he did make a couple IL rehab starts, so you got to let him go at some point. But yeah, we're really gonna have to wait and see how that goes for him. Like I said, Quintana, he's a guy. Like I said, he's a number 5 starter. And I think the Mets are really going to be expecting, like I said, Quintana's not here to save your season. Let him go out there, give you 6 innings, 2-3 runs most. Quintana, he's a guy, he's not going to strike out a lot. He's not going to strike out 10 guys. He's a guy who is going to throw strikes, throw down the strike zone, and let them hit the ball, and let them hit ground balls, let them hit fly balls, and let the defense do their job. That's Jose Quintana for you. So we'll see if he can get those ground ball outs that he needs, those occasional strikeouts if needed. But yeah, like I said, we're really going to have to wait and see how that goes. And then for the New York Yankees, they will have the lefty also. So it'll be the battle of the lefties in Carlos Rodon, who also is coming back from injury. He's made 3 starts this year since returning from the IL. He's pretty much missed all of this season due to an IL stint. And even himself, he's been roughed up. 14 2/3 innings pitched. 12 hits, 11 strikeouts, 9 runs, 4 home runs. So you saw even in Anaheim, he was getting booed by Yankee fans. So he's also been having a really rough go at it. So 2 guys coming back from injury, 2 guys who one of them will at least get the glory in that game, battle the lefties. So we'll see how that goes. We know the Mets are a team that has really been struggling to hit against left-handed pitching this season. So hopefully they can try and not make Carlos Rodon look like a Cy Young caliber candidate in that game, because that would be really unfortunate. But yeah, with that said, that's the 2-game set against the New York Yankees. It's only 2 games because it's the Subway Series. So either they can go 2-0, split it, or go 0-2 and not win a single game. And that could be the case for both of these games. So we're going to have to see how that goes. Obviously, a couple guys to keep an eye out on in terms of recently. We only have 2 big pitching matchups, so we'll see how that goes. But I think the 3 guys that I think to keep an eye out for the New York Mets, number 1, I think is going to be Francisco Alvarez. I think he's really going to try and take advantage of that short right field porch at Yankee Stadium. I think defensively he's going to shine off. Number 2, I think Justin Verlander is going to have a huge start. I think he's going to be dialed in tonight, so he's my number 2 guy to keep an eye out on. And number 3, I'm going to go with a little bit of an interesting take, but I'm going to go Pete Alonso. I know he's been playing pretty crappy lately, but if you look at the Boston series, he kind of started to come out of his shell a little bit. He had 2 doubles, a triple, and like 3 singles and a walk. So we know that. Obviously, we know the whole thing with Pete Alonso. He's really been struggling since he's returned from the IL stint. Probably should still be on the IL, but what can I do about that? So we'll see if that wrist fracture is starting to heal to its entirety, and he's starting to come back into his old self. So we're really going to have to wait and see how that goes for Big Meat Pete Alonso. But yeah, like I said, that is the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox series summary, and the New York Mets and New York Yankees series preview. Ideally, I don't have much expectations. I could easily see them going 0-2. I could see them splitting it. I don't see them winning both, but hey, maybe I'll be wrong and maybe I'll look like the idiot. But we're really just going to have to wait and see how it goes. I say split it. I think that's a result that any fan base would just bet on. Worst, best case scenario before going into this. So we're going to have to wait and see how that goes. Obviously, this series, and then obviously after the 2-game Yankee series, the Mets play a 4-game set against the Nationals. Those 6 games are very huge, obviously, because what's next week at this time is the trade deadline. So that, could determine what route the Mets are going to take, if they're going if they're going to buy, if they're just going to stay still and not do anything. That's really going to determine it. I mean, you guys know my stance. I say just don't do anything. Just let the team ride out, whether they ride out together and succeed or whether they ride out together and die. I would much rather this team just keep what they got, ride out and die together. If they get hot, they get hot. If, they fall 5 games under at the end of the year, then it'll just be considered a unfortunate season. But I just don't know if the Mets are willing to, go on and necessarily, like I said, if the Mets are going to quote unquote sell, and I hate the term sell, but if the Mets are not going to be aggressive and they are going to sell at the deadline, it is going to be a very light sell. It's going to be like what the Baltimore Orioles did last trade deadline. And what they did was they got rid of the expiring free agents, so the guys whose contracts were expiring after the season, as well as the rentals and veterans who just didn't really serve a big value on their team. So who could that consist for the Mets? Well, that could be Mark Canha, David Robertson, Tommy Pham. I'd like to say Starling Marte, but he has 2 more years after this, and I don't think anyone would want to pick up their contract. So those are kind of the guys there. And then, obviously they keep their long-term guys. The Orioles did too. So pretty much what the Orioles did last trade deadline was, trade away the expiring contract players, the rentals, veterans who don't really serve much of a big purpose, and then obviously keep everyone else that serves value, your long-term guys. So, for the Mets, get rid of guys like Canha, Pham, Robertson, and then obviously keep the guys like Nimmo, Lindor, Alonso, McNeil, Alvarez, Beatty, Vientos, and all the other guys that are going to be here long term. So I think that'd be an appropriate thing. Realistically, like I said, I understand you could probably get good prospects in return for Canha. You could probably get a top 10 prospect in return for Robertson. I don't know. Maybe it's me saying this now, but at the end of the day, I don't really think it's worth to sell or buy. I think just sit at the deadline and just don't do anything. Pull a typical Sandy Alderson, just fall asleep, don't answer the phone. I just think at this rate, you ride with the team, you die as a team. I just think, listen, ride with your squad. If they get hot, they have a good week, they try and shout, go for it. Great. But if they go out and they lose every single season or every single series for the rest of the season, oh, well, that is what it is. I think that's the approach they should honestly just do. I don't really think it's worth. Like I said, I understand. Yeah, I mean, you're going to be losing Canha at the end of the season. So, I mean, would you rather get something for him in return? Okay, I could see that argument. I wouldn't be against re-signing David Robertson. I know he's only on a 1-year deal, but I think he would be a great guy to have in this bullpen next year. Obviously, wouldn't be a closer. Probably Diaz would take over that role, but as a good setup man, Seth Lugo 2.0 type guy, because I don't think they're going to want to bring back Ottavino after this year. So, considering the Mets pitching is really going to be a question mark next year. So I think the Mets should definitely do something around those lines. But, yeah, hopefully we're really going to have to wait and see how that goes. But like I said, I really don't know if the next 6 games is necessarily going to determine everything. Like I said, I don't know if it's necessarily going to be, determine what their approach is. Hey, listen, if they go 6-0, yeah, maybe they'll do something. But at the end of the day, they pretty much haven't been existent since May 1st. They have, a week in May and then a week in July, and that was essentially it. So, I mean, besides 2 weeks scattered in 3 months, what other evidence do you have that they're going to turn it around? None. When they pitch, they don't hit. When they hit, they don't pitch. And then they have another million other categories, whether it's defensive mishaps, whether it's stranding guys in scoring position, whether it's your bullpen coming in and blowing leads. I mean, this team just finds a way to lose. This is just an unwatchable ball team. So we'll see how that goes. But we'll get into some of your guys' comments, questions, concerns for a little bit. But what's going on? Hopefully everyone is doing well. Gio, baseball is my air. Captain Morgan, Alex, Michael, Lane, Devin, Ibindos, Kobe, how's it going? Explosive, how are you doing? Cal, what's going on? Hopefully everyone is doing well. Cedric with our first big comment of the day. And like I said, if anyone has any comments, please feel free to drop them below. But Cedric with our first big comment of the day says, do you think the Mets are in need for another bat? I don't really think they're necessarily in need for another bat. I think they're in the need for one of their current bats to really get hot. Whether that's Francisco Lindor, whether that's Pete Alonso, whether that's Jeff McNeil. They need their bats to get hot. So I don't necessarily think they need to go out and buy offensive pieces. They need guys to wake up. I'm not asking for everyone to have a career year like a lot of players did last year in certain categories. But at the end of the day, when you're having guys like Alonso going 0 for 4 and Lindor go 0 for 4, it's hard to win ball games. And I feel this Mets team for the last 2 years last 3 years has heavily relied on Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso as their run creators. And I get it, but unfortunately, you need contributions from everyone. And like I said, Nimmo can only score so many runs for you in the leadoff spot. McNeil, who's batting like 240, OBP of like 320, and his abysmal OPS in the 600s, can only get so many guys home with the base hit. That's why I'm a big belief in power is very, very vital. And when Alonso and you see, show me the record when Alonso and Lindor don't get a home run or don't drive in a run. Show me what the Mets record is. Since going back to 2021, you could show me what their record is. Both of these guys got 100 plus RBIs last year. Why don't the Mets beat the Red Sox? Pitching and just, Lane, simply enough, many reasons. Pretty much summary of the season. Pitching, bad offense. When they hit, they don't pitch. When they pitch, they don't hit. Lack of communication, inadequate bullpen arms. Connor says, GG this weekend. Congrats, man. I know you are a Red Sox fan, so enjoy it. Captain Morgan says Daniel Vogelbach and DJ Stewart are in tonight's starting lineup against the Yankees. Mark Vientos is not starting. I really hate this team's management. It's actually borderline embarrassing. Yeah, it really is. At the end of the day, I don't really understand the point of why we are having guys like DJ Stewart play, Danny Mendick play. At this rate, and I understand the whole argument with Mauricio, and I get that. But at what purpose? It's a disgrace. And like I said, we're comparing him to Vientos. Well, what's the point? And I've said it 1,000 times, and you guys have said it 1,000 times. If you're not going to start Mark Vientos, send him back down to AAA. Have some other bum who's going to hit 100 come up, because I'd rather him come up, go 0 for 4, than destroy Mark Vientos' player development. Mark Vientos is a guy that's still developing. He needs the reps. And calling him up and leaving him on the bench and starting him to pitch hit once a week and starting him once a week in a game as a DH, how is that going to help him get better? Send him down to AAA and help him get better, and call someone else up that, we don't care about. Explosive says, Hayden, I doubt we see Ronnie this season. Epler said yesterday Ronnie hasn't made a defensive check mark, so that means he's off so far. Yeah, Explosive. And I was discussing it last night, I don't think the Mets are going to even. This is what I say. People say, well, why are the Mets not calling up Ronnie Mauricio now? I think there could be numerous reasons why the Mets haven't called up Mauricio. I think, one, they want to trade him, and they don't want to devalue him by calling him up, so they want to leave his trade value the way it is in AAA. That could be the first theory. Number two, we know the jump from, he's only been in AAA for a little bit. It's not like he's been in AAA for a while. He's only been in AAA for like a month. The jump from AA to AAA and then AAA to MLB, it's a huge change. The pitching is drastically different. Could he be ready for, the big league pitching, with all these crazy mechanics and off speed and slutters and 99 mile per hour, is he ready for that? Is that what they're still hesitant on? Could make an argument or a case that, like you said, defensively, we know that the Mets are not putting him at shortstop, kind of obvious, and that they tried putting him at second base, and so far he's looked a little rough at second base. He's made a couple errors, hasn't been smooth at second base, as you could argue. So I guess if you were to call him up, well, where would you put him? I mean, DH. I mean, sure, but then where else would you put him? I mean, I've said it since day one. Mauricio, outfield. Put him in the outfield. I mean, I've said it since day one. I mean, I think he has the athleticism. I think he has the speed. I think he has the arm. I think he has the build. Point athleticism. I think he can play the outfield. He's young enough to learn it now. Why are we wasting time putting him at second base when I think you have numerous other candidates that are currently playing second base, but down the line going to play second base? So, yeah, we'll see how that goes. This is what I will say. If the trade deadline comes, and let's say guys like Canna and Pham are gone, then you have zero excuse to not call up Ronnie Mauricio. There's, now you can make the argument, yeah, there's not enough roster room. Okay, sure. Which I don't even really think that's an actual thing, but maybe they believe that. Sure, maybe they could believe that. But then there's no Pham, there's no Canna, you have no excuse. There's zero excuse. So maybe they would call him up then, but if, for whatever reason, everything just stays still and they hope, yeah, maybe a September call up, but at the end of the day, everyone's like, call it Mauricio, call it Mauricio. And then these are the same people saying, why is Beatty not getting playing time? So what difference does it make? Do you really think the Mets are going to call up Ronnie Mauricio? And do you think Buck Showalter's going to play him every day? No. Vientos will get one start and he'll get one start. And then everyone's going to bitch and complain, oh, they're not starting Mauricio, send him back down to AAA. So it's going to be the same thing. That's what people are doing with Vientos. It was called Vientos, called Mauricio, and now they don't play. So what difference does it make? Like I said, I'd rather Vientos and Mauricio both sit in AAA and develop and rake and get the reps than sit on the bench 6 out of the 7 days a week in Flushing and with the Mets. So, yeah, explosive. I do agree with you on that. The defensive check marks are still needed too. What's going on, Eric? Michael says Jeremy Hefner has to be the first to go. I agree. I mean, the Mets need to fire someone. You need to show a message. I don't really understand. Everyone's like, "Oh, Hefner's so great." I never understood that. And the fact is, there's been numerous pitchers over the years that he couldn't recognize and went to other teams and pitched great. So yeah, I agree. Captain Morgan says 22 home runs and 18 starts for Scherzer this year. Yeah, not good numbers. Do you cut David Peterson for the Mets? Lane, I don't think they will. I don't really think there's much of a point at this rate. Like I said, you have so much of a lack of arms. I think at this rate, it's really just a quantity over quality approach. David Peterson's definitely made me look like an idiot on the channel this year, and I will admit that. I will say that I take accountability for that, unlike the Mets. But he does have good stuff. You can admit he does have good movement on a slider, and he has potential. I think he definitely needs like intense training and intense coaching. But I definitely think he has potential. He'd be a guy that I'd like to hold on to a little bit longer, just see what he has. I don't know what his future holds, whether it's a starter, whether it's a bullpen arm. I know the walks are a big issue, so it's kind of hard to have a bullpen arm that walks guys. There's less room for error. So, I mean, we're really going to have to see what the future holds for Peterson, but I don't think there's much of a need in cutting him right now because, it's not going to do anything. Explosive says Max has never been the same since he got caught with the sticky stuff. He's had a couple good starts. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what to believe with the whole sticky stuff start, but I mean, he's had one or two starts really since. We do have a little bit of trade news on the channel. Oh my goodness. The Boston Red Sox are trading away Kike Hernandez to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Wow, that definitely sounds familiar. Obviously the Boston Red Sox are trading away Kike Hernandez to the Los Angeles Dodgers. So once again, Kike Hernandez from the Boston Red Sox will be playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers, his old team. So that's kind of nothing. That's kind of, I guess you can argue, I guess an interesting trade. He just never recovered. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, like I said, Scherzer had maybe one or two good starts since, but I mean, really, this whole season has been off. Nathan, how's it going, buddy? He says the mentality starts with the coach. When you have a coach coming up with an excuse after excuse for unacceptable blunders and mental lapses, the players don't adapt to that mentality. I agree, and that's been the biggest thing with this team is I don't blame Buck Showalter for the team playing the way they are this year. I blame Buck Showalter for not getting honest players, for him sitting out there and acting like all these defensive mishaps and blunders and inadequate performances. He just sits there and he's like, oh, well, it happens. Oh, well, it was a hard catch to make. Oh, well, Scherzer had a good game until that one pitch. Enough with the excuses. I'm not asking Buck Showalter to go out there and say, oh, Beatty did this. He looked like garbage, or Scherzer pitched like shit. But he needs to go out there and say, like, these guys are good ball players and they know that. But we're not getting the job done right now, and they know that. He needs to say something around the lines of that, because I agree with you. Lane says, do you think the Yankees will make the playoffs this year? Yeah, Lane, I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I have no idea. There's a possibility. Maybe they can get hot. I mean, you look at that AL. I mean, you look at both wild cards, Lane, and everyone else. You look at it; it's very close. Like I said, Yankees, they're fourth in the division. Technically tied for last in the division, or tied for fourth with the Red Sox, 9 games back. So, like I said, they got to get ahead of the Blue Jays, and yet alone, you got to get ahead of the Rays and the Orioles. And, Rays have been a little slow lately, so we'll see if they can pick it up. But the Orioles have been great. The Blue Jays have been great. I mean, like I said, when it comes to that wild card, I mean, obviously, I think the Twins are only going to get one playoff spot, and it's going to be whoever wins the division. But I wouldn't be surprised if 2 of the wild card spots come from the AL West. Wouldn't be surprised. The Rangers-Astros game was insane. Explosive. Yeah, I saw a couple updates from it. That was a pretty good game. Alyssa says, do you think the Mets are in need for another bat? Like I said, Alyssa, I really don't genuinely think it's they're in need. I just think they are in need to have certain bats wake up. I think that's really what they are. I think that's really what they are in need for. Why are the Mets in the position they are now? Starting pitching. I think it's their pitching, starting, and bullpen. Max pitches better at home on the road. Yeah, I've noticed that too. I mean, if someone wants to Google the splits, but I've definitely noticed that. What's wrong with the Mets starter Max Scherzer? I'd say pitch clock. I'd say pitch clock and age. He's been very inconsistent this year. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Scherzer has, I mean, besides 4 starts maybe this year, he's been horrible. And we like to say Scherzer has this bulldog mentality. He'll never give up. I've said on this channel, he's a very, mental guy. I mean, he's a psychopath in a good way. He'll never give up. I mean, he'll fight. He'll chop off his right arm and learn how to pitch as a lefty if it makes him good. But at this rate, I mean, he could say everything and, say, oh, I pitched like shit and get all mental and nuts and psycho, But if he's going to go out there and, pitch like shit, who cares what he thinks? And that's what we're seeing from him. I just think I hate to say washed, but he's old. It's not 5 years ago and he's still in a Cy Young prime. He's old. We see a lot of his stuff has gone downhill, whether it's the location of his slider, whether it's his spin rate, whether it's just everything. He's older. I don't need to explain what happens when you're near 40 years old as a pitcher. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really know if the pitch clock's a big thing to blame. I think, maybe it is. Who knows? Maybe he's a guy that likes to take his time. But I definitely think the age is a big thing. He's been inconsistent. I think that's something too. Mark's here. You and me both, man. What is the issue right now? Offense or pitching? I'd say it's kind of been bouncing off. But right now, I'd say overall, it's probably been pitching as a whole. Appreciate it. This is a good question. Kendall says, is baseball a dying sport? Yeah, I would argue it has. I know it's been something that's been asked and talked about on the channel prior. I would say it is a dying sport, and obviously, it's why Major League Baseball and, the executives in the commissioner's office introduced stuff like the pitch clock and certain new rules over the last couple years. But yeah, I would argue baseball is a dying sport. I mean, being a person who lives in Florida, where it's hot all year round, there's no winter, you could play baseball all year round. I see a lot of people play it, but nobody cares about the MLB. I go up to these people, I say, "What's your favorite MLB team?" "Oh, I don't follow." But everyone loves football and basketball down here. So I would argue it is. Random question: what do you think about a double hook rule? Meaning, if a pitcher goes less than 6 innings pitched, team loses the DH for games. I'm sick of. I saw that somewhere, and I thought that was fake. So yeah, that was interesting. I'll tell you, man. I read that somewhere. Well, if that was the Mets, then that would suck. So what? Then I'm sick of relievers dominating games. So yeah, so pretty much what that rule is, let's say Max Scherzer goes out there and only gives you 4 1/3 innings. Then you would lose the DH for the game. So hence your pitchers would have to go in and pitch or go in and hit, or you'd have to substitute, take them out, pretty much pre-DH era. So I think everyone here is old enough to remember that. But yeah, I'm not crazy about that rule. Being completely honest, just because, then what's the point of kind of bringing in the DH? Yeah, and like I said, now the pitch clock, you don't see many pitchers go 6 innings. Yet alone, I don't see many pitchers going long into games. We've been seeing a lot of pitchers only go 5, 6 innings this year. There's only been 2 or 3 complete games this year. A lot of people say it's for the Mets. A lot of MLB too. You don't see starters going 7, 8, 9 innings anymore. And I know historically, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like last year guys would go deeper into games for all MLB, where this year guys are not going long into games. Their pitch count is getting tremendously high in the 6th inning or 5th inning, and they get taken out, and their bullpen gets a lot more work. And I don't know if that's the pitch clock. Assuming it is, just a mental thing and kind of just wear and tear and getting tired out quicker because you're throwing more pitches in a certain amount of time. So, yeah. But to answer your question, I'm not crazy. I don't really like that because it's kind of like, well, what's the purpose of bringing in the DH then? And it's also, I think it's an unfair advantage, Subway Series time will be, oh, nice, man. Jack will be there. Hopefully you have fun. Section 203. Nice, man. Yeah, Cal, Jet Williams, he's definitely been an interesting character for the Mets farm system the last couple. Obviously the Mets drafted him last year. I'm curious to see if he'll be a shortstop. I wouldn't be against the Mets trying to transition him into a second baseman. Like I said, shortstop is occupied, so I wouldn't be against the Mets trying to transition him into a second baseman. Yeah, we're gonna have to see how that goes. I think it'd be very interesting to see what the Mets do with him. But yeah, he's been raking. He's been an on-base machine. He's been walking a lot. Great plate discipline. Like I said, I know it's only single A or low A in Port St. Lucie, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the call up to high A. Maybe starts next year in double A. I think it'd be really interesting to see what he could do. He's definitely a very underrated prospect. Definitely broke out this year. Kendrick, what's going on? He says New York Mets will be the comeback team of the year. Trust me. We'll see, man. Hopefully you're right. I wonder how many Met fans will show up tonight. Probably not. Probably not a lot. Heck, they didn't even show up at Citi Field. It was Yankee Stadium there. Facts. Alex, why doesn't Buck Showalter ever start Mark Vientos? That's the $1 million question. I have 0 words. Change needs to happen sooner rather than later, or we can kiss the season goodbye. Yeah. It's been the moral of the story. Jay says Alonso is breaking out. Yeah, last couple of games he's been looking good, so we'll see if that wrist fracture is starting to heal. Captain Morgan says maybe Cohen will realize the career loser GM is not good at his job. He could ask the other 2 GMs he hired, right? I want to sweep the Yankees to hurt their playoff chances. Yeah, that is one thing too. Hopefully, man. Brett Beatty. What are the Red Sox getting back? That's a good question. Let's see what they're getting back. Sorry, I skipped a couple comments. This StreamYard sucks to read off of. So the Dodgers are acquiring Kike Hernandez from the Boston Red Sox. I don't know who, honestly. It doesn't say. It just says Kike. I don't imagine it's anyone too seriously. Probably a mid-level prospect or two. Because I'm really not seeing anything. Yeah, I have no idea. Probably a mid-level prospect. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, Cal, it's been the moral of the story for them this season. Yeah, that's something I've mentioned too. Nutty to think about. Explosive, that's a good point. I remember that. If only they did. Matthew, yeah, Carrasco. I mean, I don't really think you're going to get anything out of him, but I'd say DFA him. There's no point in keeping him on the roster. He doesn't offer anything. But yeah, we'll probably get ready to call it a stream very soon. If anyone else has any more comments, questions, concerns they'd like to share, please feel free to drop it in the comments section below. Probably, like I said, going to call it a stream in a couple of minutes or two. I really do appreciate everyone for tuning in. We had a great stream as always. I know there wasn't much positivity to talk about. But yeah, like I said, it is what it is. So probably going to get ready to call it a stream as we are about to hit the hour mark. Obviously, in today's stream, we did go over the New York Mets and the Boston Red Sox series summary, pretty much summarizing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Then we transitioned into the Subway Series, where the New York Mets will battle the New York Yankees in a 2-game series, going over the farm system, Mets news, Mets injuries, the MLB trade deadline, which will be coming up soon, and all of that great stuff. So super, super exciting to see how that's going to go about. Super, super exciting to really just see how a lot of things are going to go about. Like I said, we have about 2 months in the season left. So kind of interesting approach to see what the Mets are going to do. Both New York teams arguably have been in a very, very inadequate situation. So, yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to hold off and see what the Mets are going to do. But, yeah, I do appreciate everyone for tuning in to today's stream as per always. If everyone could give this video a like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. If you are watching this on replay, appreciate y'all for tuning in for an hour. You're a legend. If you have any comments, like I said, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Let's get to 800 subscribers. I think we're like 10 away. So if we can get to 800 subscribers by the trade deadline, I'll be happy. But if not, like I said, no worries. It is what it is. But yeah, definitely share this video. Tell your friends to subscribe, your family. If you have to make an account for your dog, I don't know. Whatever is necessary is what I like to say. But yeah, otherwise, I really do appreciate everybody for tuning in to the stream as always. Let's go Mets. Let's go baseball. And yeah, that's really all I got for you guys. So till next time, baseball fans, let's go Mets. Mets country, baby. Till next time, baseball fans. See ya.